Hello to all. So in continuation with the topic hemostasis, in this lecture I want to take the platelet disorders versus clotting disorders, or the difference between the disorders of primary hemostasis and the disorders of secondary hemostasis. So they differ on clinical grounds as well as on the basis of the investigation that we carry out in these disorders. So normal hemostasis, we know it has three components. First and foremost is the blood vessel, then second platelets, and coagulation cascade lastly. So all three components should function normally to ensure a proper hemostasis. If any of these components is not working properly, then bleeding will occur and leads to the hemorrhagic disorders. So what are the causes of hemorrhagic disorder? It can be vessel wall abnormality. It can be defect in the platelets. Platelets can be decreased in number, or they can be defective in their function. Then there can be defects of coagulation or the defects of secondary hemostasis, and it also encompasses a variety of disorders. I will be enumerating them later. So first of all, what are the clinical differences between these disorders of primary hemostasis and secondary hemostasis? So when you talk about the defects in the primary hemostasis, clinically they generally present as small bleeds in the skin or mucous membrane. This is very important to know because such scenarios come in the problem-based questions. So we should know that in primary hemostasis they present as small bleeds, and they are seen in the skin or mucous membrane as petechiae and purpura. So we should know the difference between petechiae and purpura. Petechiae and purpura both are hemorrhages, but difference is in their size. So the small sized 1 to 2 millimeters, they are petechiae. So if the size is 2 or less than 2 millimeter, then it is a petechiae. And if the size is more than equal to 3 millimeter, then it is known as purpura. Both are because of the extravasated blood that is caused due to the defective hemostasis. Then other manifestation of primary hemostatic disorder, that is disorder arising because of the platelet abnormality, are epistaxis, bleeding from the nose, then GI bleeding, menorrhagia. Sometimes intracerebral bleeding can be seen in case of severe thrombocytopenia, that is when the platelets are markedly decreased in number. And in all the tests, in all the disorders of primary hemostasis, we do the test of primary hemostasis, which will show the abnormal results. So in this slide you need to know that in the platelet disorders, the commonly clinically seen lesions are petechiae and purpura. Petechiae less than equal to 2 millimeters, and purpura they are larger, more than equal to 3 millimeters but less than 1 centimeters. Next, when there is a defect in the secondary hemostasis or there is any coagulation disorder, then there are large bleeds generally occur, and there is bleeding into the soft tissue, like sometimes intramuscular bleeding can be there. Then there can be bleeding in the joints, which is known as hemarthrosis. Like these, the joint becomes swollen, painful, the movements are painful. This is known as hemarthrosis. So bleeding can occur into the joint, and this bleeding can even occur after a minor trauma. Then large post-traumatic hematomas can be seen. So hematomas and ecchymosis. So they are the skin discoloration again because of the RBCs, extravasated RBCs, and their size is more than 1 centimeters. So ecchymosis, also known as bruises. Then they can also cause intracranial hemorrhage. And in the secondary hemostatic disorders, we do the test of secondary hemostasis, which again I will be discussing in another lecture. Now lastly, sometimes the bleeding can occur because of the defects involving the small blood vessels, and clinically they present as palpable purpura. So there is a purpuric lesion and which is palpable. So next there can be bruises or ecchymosis, and due to the subcutaneous bleeding. So this is a picture of ecchymosis, and even hematoma can be seen. Hematoma is nothing but it is palpable mass of clotted blood. The clotted blood is giving rise to a mass that now becomes palpable. So it is known as hematoma. The platelet count and test of the coagulation, they are usually normal in vascular disorder, except for one or two tests which are also abnormal in the primary hemostatic disorders, like the bleeding time and the Hess capillary test. So other tests will be in the normal range in the vascular disorders. Now when there is a bleeding disorder, the petechiae purpura, they are formed and they are reddish lesions, and in the skin the erythematous lesions which are seen, they are also reddish in color. So how do we differentiate clinically between these two lesions? First, the hemorrhagic petechiae and purpura, and second, the erythematous lesion. The petechiae purpura, they are formed because of the extravasated RBCs and because of the defect in the hemostatic mechanisms, and these erythematous lesions, they are generally formed when there is increased blood flow in the blood vessels. So for this, there is a test known as diascopy or the glass test. So what do we do in this? So when we take a glass and we apply it over that reddish lesion, and then we press the glass. So when we press the glass, and if the lesion disappears, then it is the erythematous lesion. It is not petechiae or purpura. While the petechiae and purpura, it will still be seen after pressing with the glass, because that is because of the extravasated RBCs, so they don't go anywhere. Because of that, the rash is seen as a non-blanching rash. So petechiae purpura, they don't blanch on pressure. That means they don't disappear on applying this pressure with the glass. While the erythematous lesion, they are blanching lesions. They blanch on pressure. So this is an important test. Sometimes it is asked in the problem-based questions or viva. Now clinically, we also have to distinguish the local cause of bleeding versus the systemic cause of bleeding. Generally, these disorders of primary hemostasis and secondary hemostasis, they are a systemic disorder. So what are the features of systemic disorders? Recurrent episodes of bleeding, and that too from more than one site. If there is excessive bleeding resulting from a trivial or very minor trauma, or if there is spontaneous bruising, generally the cause is systemic. If the bleeding has a local cause, and then it will present with isolated like hematuria, or just the patient will present with hematemesis, or he will just have a melena, it is blood in the stools. So that will these things will occur in when there are local causes of bleeding. Generally in the hemostatic disorders, we find the systemic disorders. Next, again, clinically, we also have to assess whether the cause of bleeding is inherited or acquired. This is useful in case of when we are given with a problem-based question. So we should know all these aspects. So when there is an inherited bleeding disorder, the history will generally be given in a child, and in a coagulation defect, generally only a single factor is deficient, and there will be a positive family history. So these are the features of an inherited bleeding disorder. While in an acquired disorder, we take a detailed history to find out the cause, like liver disease, vitamin K deficiency, or any drug intake. That will be an acquired cause of any hemostatic disorder. These are examples. Then in case of a coagulation disorder, multiple factors will be deficient, like in vitamin K deficiency, 2nd, 7th, 9th and 10th, these factors will be involved. So that is a acquired cause. While example of this is like hemophilia A, only factor 8 is deficient. So in acquired causes, multiple factors will be deficient. Likewise in the liver disease, again multiple factors will be deficient. So this is how we differentiate between the inherited cause of bleeding and acquired cause of bleeding. So we have to keep these points in the mind while we are given with a problem-based question. Studying about these bleeding disorders is important because they have serious consequences, like a hypovolemic shock or intracranial bleed can occur, which can later lead to raised intracranial pressure and even the herniation of brain. Then because of the blood loss, there will be iron deficiency, anemia. So this is a table which summarizes the clinical differences between the primary hemostatic disorder and secondary hemostatic disorder. So petechiae, they are characteristic feature in the primary hemostatic disorder or the platelet disorder, while secondary, it is rare in the secondary disorder. Now the ecchymosis or the bruises, they are generally small and multiple in a case of primary hemostatic disorder, while they are generally large and single or solitary in case of a secondary hemostatic disorder. Then hematomas and deep hematomas and hemarthrosis, they are very characteristic in case of secondary hemostatic disorder. Positive family history is more common in a secondary hemostatic disorder because inherited causes are more common in the secondary hemostatic disorders or the coagulation disorders. Then bleeding from the mucous membrane, bleeding gums, menorrhagia, it is a more prominent feature of primary hemostatic disorder. It may occur but less common in case of secondary hemostatic disorders. Then history of delayed bleeding after trauma, it is generally not seen in primary hemostatic disorder, while it is a characteristic feature of secondary hemostatic disorder. So all these features we should know while we are solving a problem based question of a hemorrhagic disorder. So in the next lecture I will be telling you about certain diseases which are related to all these aspects of hemostasis, like the vascular disorders, coagulation disorders and platelet disorders, and investigations related to all these disorders. So thank you very much.